Hello, this is Joe. Welcome back to the channel. Well, a few weeks ago, I received a really nice letter from a viewer from northern Italy, Aldo Fezzi, and he had given me a package that included this Pelican plastic carbon ribbon, typewriter ribbon, new old stock. It's still in its original plastic packaging. So this is a multi-strike carbon film ribbon mounted on a DIN-sized manual typewriter spool. So this was intended for the kind of typewriters that would have moving carriages, I guess, type bars, these regular spools. And I'm interested in trying this cartridge out on a compatible typewriter to see how it works. And also, since we're talking about multi-strike carbon film ribbons, I happen to have one for my Selectric 721. This one is a Burroughs brand Nu-Kote Multistrike film ribbon for the IBM Selectric 721, so I'm going to try that out as well. Let's compare them. But first I have to figure out which machine I'd like to put this ribbon into. So let's review a little bit about typewriter ribbons. So moving carriage type bar style typewriters, up until maybe the 1970s, when companies like Smith Corona come up with cartridge ribbon systems, typewriters before then used ribbons on spools. There were two spools, and the idea is the ribbon advances as you type, and when you get to the end of the ribbon, there was usually an automatic ribbon reversing system in the typewriter that reversed it, meaning that these cloth ribbons were multi-pass, multi-strike. They ran the full length of the ribbon back and forth multiple times until the ribbon slowly gets fainter and fainter, and then you have to change the ribbon at some point. Whereas conventional carbon film ribbons, the kind you might see on a Selectric 2 or 3 and on daisy-wheel electronic typewriters, those standard kinds of ribbons are a plastic film, a clear plastic film base with this thin black carbon film deposit on the front, and it is a single strike, a single pass, a single use ribbon. When you type a character off of that ribbon, it peels off the character, and what's left on the ribbon is a clear hole in the shape of the letter. So you can't use those ribbons more than once. Otherwise, if you try retyping over it, you'll get letters with missing parts of it. But these two ribbons here are multi-strike, meaning it has a carbon film coating on the plastic base, but it's much thicker than the kind that would be peeled off completely like on the daisy-wheel typewriter. Don't know if you can see this on camera, but on the Selectric 7.2 cartridge here, multi-strike cartridge, there's evidence of previous typing on that ribbon. You might be able to see it there. And so it makes kind of an imprint. It's taken part of the carbon film away, but it still has more carbon film underneath it. And that is why they call it a multi-strike or multi-pass carbon ribbon. So if I'm going to use this in a manual typewriter, though, the other question I have is the reversing system. So a lot of the American typewriters, manual typewriter systems, were eyelet driven. There were two eyelets, one on each end of the ribbon, and there was a forked guide. The eyelet was too thick to go through the forked guide, so as the ribbon advanced, the eyelet hit the forked guide, moves the forked guide, which triggers the reversing mechanism. Whereas a lot of the European typewriters that use the DIN standard spools, they had a ribbon reversing system based on back tension. When the ribbon got to the end, it got tight as the drive system tried to pull the ribbon, and that flipped a guide and changed the direction of the ribbon. So I need to use this on a typewriter that does not use eyelets for reversing, because I'm assuming this carbon film is very thin, or the plastic base is very thin. The box says it is 50 meters, so that's 2 or 3 times the length of an average cloth ribbon. So it means it's quite a bit thinner. So you can't really crimp eyelets on this plastic film. So this precludes the use of most of my American typewriters. So I'm thinking I'm going to be using a German typewriter. Either my Olympia, I have the SM9 available, but I also have the Optima Super, and I like the typeface on the Optima Super is quite distinctive. So I think I'm going to try to put this into the Optima. Now, the other question remaining in this whole thing, because I have not done this before, is how to attach the ribbon to the other spool. So this is one spool. I have some other DIN size blank spools. So I'm going to have to take the end of this ribbon and attach it to the other spool. And usually with cloth typewriter ribbons, there was a little hook in the center hub of the spool, and you snag the ribbon and kind of make the hook penetrate the fabric and hang on to it. Well, this is plastic, very delicate and thin, so I think I'm just going to use adhesive tape to adhere the ribbon to the spool. It is encapsulated in a plastic foil pouch. It's never been opened. It is a plastic spool, and it's the DIN size. You can tell by the size of the center hole, with the original foil intact. It's never been opened. Well, okay, there's an arrow here on the package to indicate where I'm supposed to open it. Let's see if I can peel off, there we go, with the Olfa Touch knife. The adhesive is quite good. New old stock. Has kind of a nondescript odor. And it looks like a clear, is it clear? Yes, a clear section of ribbon. There it is. Right there is the start of the film itself. So as I unspool the ribbon now, I come to a place where this clear leader is starting to come off, and I notice there's a hole in the black carbon, and if I peel back that leader, that hole goes right through the whole ribbon. So apparently you can actually attach the carbon film directly, I'm assuming, to the other typewriter spool via that hole. Okay, instead of taping it, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so there I have attached the hook right in the hole, and that end of the film ribbon is reinforced with tape apparently. So I think before we swap ribbons here, I do want to do a test typing just to kind of have a groundwork, a framework of how this typewriter types, what it looks like with a cloth ribbon. Okay, there's the typeface on the Optima Super with the cloth ribbon. It's a very nice typeface, I think. All right, let's pop the lid off. These are metal spools, which are generally preferable, but I have plenty of plastic ones as well. Okay, so I did clean off these forked reversing guides. All right, I think I'm going to leave the ribbon cover off for now. Well, so far it looks unimpressive. It looks like it's not as dark as the inked section. Let's do a typing test. There you can see the difference. It's definitely lighter of an imprint. So I think I'm going to switch paper. I have some heavier, kind of smoother paper, less toothy, less fibrous. Okay, this is laser paper, color laser paper. Okay, that is definitely better with this smoother paper. So like a lot of carbon film ribbons, they don't like to print well on real toothy fibrous paper. So now I'm looking at the part of the ribbon that's already been typed on, and it looks to me like, I don't know if this is really multi-strike or not in the sense of what I hoped it to be. I'm going to reverse the ribbon and see if what happens when we start to type on the old section again. Well, it looks like continuing to test on it, it appears like there is a little bit of irregularity to the imprint. There are some little skips and spaces, like It's not consistently dark all the time, so I think the retyping of it is not perfectly pristinely clean like I would have hoped. You might be able to see that the bottom of the ribbon is looking kind of frayed. Of course, I'm on the red setting on my bichrome, but when it's multi-strike, it's not like dozens of times. It may only be a few times. I don't know. And it's also useful to point out that the intended use for this ribbon is correspondence, OCR, optical character recognition, photo reproduction, and offset printing. So it sounds like you wouldn't really be using this ribbon every day on every particular document. You would install it for like special jobs that had to be especially neat. I think it's also fair to say, though, that the performance of the ribbon, how long it lasts, is probably related also to how soft your platen is. This is a quite hard platen. You might get better performance out of a fresh rubber platen. It may not make as much damage on this film as I'm seeing here. I should also point out that removing this ribbon from the typewriter was a lot more delicate of an operation because the film is so thin and easy to crease. But you can get an idea here looking at the film side of the ribbon, the embossing that's been going on. It's only, maybe practical speaking, probably only several passes before this might start affecting the quality. So I've taken out the carbon film ribbon, I put back the cloth ribbon, and you can see on this bottom line, the cloth ribbon on this typewriter is a Bako ribbon. It's nicely darkly inked, and it actually makes a darker imprint than the film ribbon, although it's not quite as neat as the film ribbon. So that's the real difference right there. And now, I have a bulletin just in handed to me. If you like this program, please like and subscribe. I don't know what that means. Well, what do you think? You guys like my Starry Nights typewriter cover that I sewed, quote unquote? A primitive form of sewing, but I'm a beginner. Okay, let's do a type sample with the existing Bako cloth ribbon loaded into the cartridge, and then we'll swap it out to the Multistrike Burroughs cartridge. Okay, we're going to first try this toothier paper. All right. Okay, you can see on top there the Burroughs Multistrike is on the bottom actually, and the cloth ribbon is on the top. The black impression on this Bako ribbon looks slightly brown because it is. The first bulk spool of Bako that I ordered, it came with a little bit of a red tint, a brownish tint to the black, which doesn't bother me at all. But the newer Bako ribbon I got is black. Anyways, you can see the difference here. There is a little bit of lightness on some of the letters on the film ribbon because of this toothy textured paper. So let's try the slicker laser paper. Multi-strike ribbon on this laser paper, nice and dark, very nice, good impression. And you can see the cloth ribbon is also nice and dark. It's just the imprint is not quite as sharp and crisply defined. The letters are better defined on the film ribbon, of course. Well, I consider it a privilege to have the opportunity to try out this Pelican multi-strike, perhaps, ribbon in the Optima Super, as well as this Burroughs true multi-strike ribbon for the Selectric 721 specifically. Yeah, I wasn't as pleased with the performance of this Pelican ribbon that as I thought I would, because I assumed it was going to be more like the IBM 721 ribbon that truly is multiple use. It looks like you can type on it, top edge, completely through and then bottom edge completely through, and then you might be able to get a second use out of it, perhaps. So I would say maybe a double use ribbon might be a good way of putting it. But these are new old stock, at least the one that Aldo gave me, so they're not very common. I haven't really looked on eBay or anything online to see how common they are, but they don't sell these anymore, either one of these, in fact. So it is kind of interesting, though. This is like a little time machine, a little look in the past of what was once available for typewriters that we wish we still had, but we don't. As far as the imprint quality, both of these film ribbons perform better on this smoother, glossier paper that has more sizing in the surface of the paper. The more fibrous, toothy kind of papers, the film ribbons just don't work quite as well. And if you have like a modern daisy wheel typewriter and you're having problems with the imprint quality of the film ribbon, try some smoother, like laser paper that might give you a better result. So this little flyer that came with the Pelican ribbon, it is an advertisement flyer for various correction products. So we have the correction fluid, interesting little diagram of a spreadsheet being typed and corrected. And then we have the Blanco film, the white correction tabs, which is pretty cool that we have a little illustration of that. I think for the sake of completeness, it's important to point out that there were a number of large office professional manual typewriters, both manual and electric, that used both cloth ribbons in the conventional spools as well as a bulk spool of carbon film ribbon. I think is it the Hermes Ambassador? Might have been one of those. There's a number of those large office machines that use both of those. So if you're really interested in a typewriter that uses both or can switch back and forth both between cloth and carbon film ribbons, that would be one of those kinds of typewriters worth looking into. But as far as like day-to-day typing, I really like cloth ribbon typewriters. They don't put out quite the quality of imprint necessarily that carbon film does, but there's a certain aesthetic to cloth typewriter impression, and the whole experience of a moving carriage type bar machine is just the essence of what typewriters are all about. Although I said that in the presence of this thing, so hopefully it won't be mad at me. And as always, stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.